o'clock on this Monday afternoon. Welcome back in. It's the Postgame Show along with Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. We are broadcasting live today at Columbia Craft downtown. We call it the South Vista.
The Sista.
That's right. That's the name that Elijah and Langston and I gave this area of town last year.
That's right.
As it continues to grow.
Patrick Davis on board.
PD was good with it.
PD's
That's
on board with all this Sista.
Heard PD's new song this weekend. It's good. He's got some good stuff coming out. And but we're down here today, so come say hey to us. We're going over some of Elijah's beer rankings at Columbia Crest. Speaking of rankings, Elijah's going to set us up for another thought exercise today. We've also got one out there for you on Gamecock football. By the way, shout out to Terry Ford, who is watch how I say this. Keeping everything straight. See what I did there? It's funny. Thanks, Terry. He's going to yell at me later, isn't he?
He is, yeah. You done stepped in it.
That's all right. I figured I'm trying to bait him into coming on the air, and he's just not doing it.
Because he's like, I just got done doing 3 hours, Jay Phillips. I just got done doing 3 hours.
Yeah.
That poor soundboard.
Eventually, we'll get him to say something, right?
We might coax him into it.
Should we bash the Orioles? See if that helps?
Absolutely should, yeah. We start debating the AL East, yeah. I could summon a Terry Ford. I heard if you go into a bathroom and you say Cal Ripken's name 3 times fast, turn around, and then wait a second, Terry Ford's face does appear. Cal Ripken Jr., Cal Ripken Jr., Cal Ripken Jr. Spin around 3 times, and then all of a sudden,
I don't know.
Terry Ford's face appears.
I'm thinking Ford must have left the room and gone to get a coffee.
Or a beer.
Yeah, because he'd have been back by now.
He's probably strolled through my list on ColumbiaCraft.com and on our Twitter feed and was like, some of these sound really good. Oh, Elijah compared this beer to Sidney Rice. I got to try it. This is exactly what I did.
Let's see here. I got to ask you guys as Gamecock fans, who would you say is the football team's most indispensable player headed into the 24 season? One player only.
That's the tough part. That's what makes this a thought exercise.
Yeah, a few of you gave me multiple players, including Mike Yuba, who I have not yet hollered at. Pops Frisbee apologized for a non-answer by giving several names that could have that impact.
I appreciate the self-awareness. I can respect that.
Let's see. This guy says, you're not going to like this.
I love when someone starts.
I don't even know. I haven't even read it yet, so I'm just going to.
You don't know if I'm not going to like it. I might love it.
He says you're not going to like this, but if we learned one thing from last year, it's that if you don't have a functional offensive line, it doesn't matter if you have the best QB in program history and a first-round NFL wide receiver, you're going to have a bad year. The answer has to be the 5 O-linemen.
But you got to narrow it down to one. Which player on the offensive line that if they went down week 1 and they were not going to play the rest of the season, would you feel the worst about?
I kind of go back with whoever said Rashawn Lee. Was that Yuva?
I think that was Yuva. I think he is Yuva's offensive player, and which makes sense for Rashawn Lee. Is pound for pound your best offensive lineman right now. Has some versatility. A guy who was forced to play multiple positions, and if there were, when there were some bright spots in the running game last year, I always noticed that Rashawn Lee had a lot to do with creating holes in the interior part of the offensive line. And I think that's really valuable. You have running backs that can run between the tackles really well. Rocket Sanders is a guy that can run between the tackles really well because he's built to do that. And so maybe Rocket Sanders doesn't reach his potential if you don't get the best version of Rashawn Lee. So I think if you're having to pick one of those offensive linemen, which we're making you do, I think Rashawn Lee might be that one player on that unit that you would feel the worst about if they were not available for whatever reason the rest of the season.
That's where I am right now. I'm not saying that's I haven't really even, I'll be perfectly honest with you, I've not allowed myself to come up with who I think it is yet.
If you think too hard, your head will hurt.
Yeah, I think I know.
But you don't feel free letting that fly yet. It's understandable.
Let's see. Timothy says, no disrespect to Ashford, but it's Sellers without a doubt. That's a couple of we got into Sellers, like, one was like without question and the other without a doubt.
Which makes total sense. I mean, what your idea of the ceiling of this team is with Lenore Sellers, even given all that's unknown, is going to be completely different than what your idea of this team's ceiling is when Robbie Ashford is the quarterback.
Here's another one that says, we don't make a bowl game if Sellers isn't the QB the whole season. Okay. Hunter has given us 2, one on offense, one on defense. Rocket Sanders and Jalen Kilgore. Okay. Again, that's sort of cheating, but I'll try to let you get away with it.
We'll let you hedge that.
I don't want to, I'm not trying to holler too much at people, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
we holler enough.
I don't want to holler. Let's see. Melissa, that's good, Melissa. Melissa says whoever ends up being the kicker.
Whoever ends up.
I think that's going to be Herrera.
Yeah. It's the way Shane talks.
It sounds like it's going to be Herrera. And our guy John says Rocket Sanders. If you can't run the ball, your offense won't go very far like last year. So that's a few of them. We've got a lot more that we'll get to. Hit me up at jphillips1075. Your most indispensable player going into the 2024 season for South Carolina football. In the meantime, branching out into a couple things going on around the country. We got All-America list today. We've had our top 25s out for a couple of weeks. Again, the season does officially begin this weekend. It's the 0th week of the year.
Not the first one.
Nope. It's the 0th week, because if they're calling it the other thing, then we're going to call it the 0th week. I'm not even sure if 0th is an official adjective. Jeff, will you look that up for me?
Our crack staff on site to determine if that is an official adjective.
Jeff's smart. See if 0th is a thing. But you've got some other thought exercises for us to do.
Yes.
Now, on a Monday, man, I need you to can I handle this? Because I've already got one thing going.
You should be able to handle this.
Well,
if not, then I can filibuster enough for you to be able to complete a couple of those thoughts to be able to use.
Well, and you know what? You've got the perfect filibuster book in front of you.
I do. I absolutely do.
Oh, sweet. 0th is, but I spelled it wrong.
Yeah, we have both been spelled. We both butchered the spelling of that. That is brutal.
Zeroth is how it's spelled. I figured it would have another thing on it.
So I think it's pronounced Zeroth.
Zeroth.
We've been making it 0th, which I mean,
well, Zeroth is even more absurd. Yes.
Which is, yeah, beautiful. I mean, that really, this is a very layered bit that we have going on.
But you have the perfect filibuster book in front of you with Phil Steele's college football.
Can't do college football studying without it. It is the perfect guide to get you into position groups for each team and to be able to formulate what your opinion would be for this thought exercise. And this is something I do, Jay Phillips, every year. And I want to get the rest of the on-air crew at 107.5 The Game to do a draft. We will draft teams. I'd like to offer us to draft teams. You just get one team.
Okay.
It's a non-ranked team. So now the AP poll is out. I don't count the coaches poll because it sucks. But I do the AP poll because that is filled with people who are who they say they are when they fill out the ballots.
Yes.
And that's the one that are used, that's used for like TV broadcasts. So now the AP poll is out. I every year choose one team that's not ranked. And on a point system, you'll get a point for each spot they climb in the AP ranking by the end of the year. So, for example, last year I picked UCLA. UCLA was not ranked at the end of the year. I was awarded 0 points.
I got you.
But let's say you chose, it's a hypothetical here. Let's say you choose South Carolina, and this year South Carolina ends up 24th. You get 2 points.
Okay.
1 point for being ranked 25th, 2 for being 24, 3 for 23, 4 for 22, and so on and so forth.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So the maximum points. So if a team that's unranked here ends up winning the national championship and ends number 1 in the AP poll, you get the maximum amount of points.
You should also get like a 10-point bonus.
You should also be the eternal champion of the game, if you call that.
Oh, I love eternal champions.
Yeah, eternal champion. Yeah. So no matter who wins next year, you're actually the real winner because it's like catching the golden snitch in Quidditch. No matter how many points you had, it doesn't matter. You did the hardest thing in the game, so that's it. But that rarely happens, if ever. So this year,
the Seeker that does that.
The Seeker, that's right.
Yeah,
the one who's been searching low and high.
Yeah,
so for this year, now that the AP poll is out, we will be tasked today, Jay Phillips, with picking one unranked team. This is just me versus you.
Okay.
And whoever ends up having the highest ranking at the end of the year, ends up in the top 25 and ranked the highest, will win this challenge. Now, we did this last year when I filled in as a producer on the early game with Preston and Bill, but they both picked the same team, so they could not beat each other. But they picked UTSA. UTSA did not finish ranked. I picked UCLA. UCLA was on pace, and until they fell apart towards the end of the year, was not ranked. And then Tyler picked Illinois. Illinois also not ranked. So of the 4 participants last year, nobody picked a team that finished inside the top 25. But this is a new year. This is a new day. This is 2024. That was 2023. That was then. This is now. I am very confident in the team that I have that, and I've got like a couple ones. I'm going to let you pick first if you think you're up for it. I can even let you pick first because I have a backup to my plan if you pick my team.
Okay. I looked at the teams here in the AP poll that didn't get votes. And I figured that was a good place to start. And then I saw that one of the teams that I asked you about earlier was actually did not pick up a vote in the AP poll.
Not even a single vote.
No, they didn't. So I'm maybe going to move off from them. Even though and that team was UCF. Because I think they can be pretty good.
I mean, KJ Jefferson transfers in.
Yeah.
Speaking of other Arkansas transfers from those teams that were the highlight of the Sam Pittman era, KJ Jefferson's coming in. RJ Harvey's a potential first-team All Big 12 running back.
But I am going to
got a lot of talent there.
I am going to go, and I've set my own parameters here as pulling a team from the others receiving votes category. I'm going to go Wisconsin Badgers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, the quarterback this year, in theory, should be an upgrade. In year 2 of Phil Longo's system, I think they're kind of looking for some proof of concept there.
Yeah. So I'm going to go Wisconsin.
Wisconsin?
Or
okay.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Wisconsin, as T-Pain calls it.
There's like Louisville, it should be pretty good. I think they could be there. I'm not sold on SMU, although I know people think they're going to be all right. Liberty probably has a really nice chance.
The thing with Liberty, the Liberty actually might be one of the safest picks. So, and feel free to chime in with this as well, but Liberty might be one of the safest picks in this because the Conference USA is bad. It is like paper bag over the head bad. I mean, I was listening to one of my favorite college football podcasts. That's Split Zone Duo, and they were kind of giving through like their personal rankings. They had Middle Tennessee State at 4, and as an alum and as a lover of the program, they're not going to be 4. They lost a lot. That's like that. But if that team is projected to be 4th in your conference,
so Liberty, who and who?
Liberty, then Western Kentucky, Jacksonville State.
Okay.
And that's your upper class, but it's Liberty and everybody else. And there's a really good chance if Liberty goes through the season undefeated and just gets their can absolutely kicked all over the place in the first round of the college football playoff, then there's still a chance they're going to be left in the top 25, regardless, because at that point you're going to be 13-1, and you made the college football playoff.
Right.
So I think that might be one of the safest bets if you're participating in this thought exercise. But I'm going to go a little riskier.
Okay.
Because I think this team can legitimately win their Power 4 conference.
Okay.
They return 11 starters on offense, 10 starters on defense.
Oh, my.
A quarterback who is dual threat and picked up his stride at the end of the season. A lot of continuity. I think this school really loves the head coach that they have. And that is the Hokies of Virginia Tech. I have a little bit of a team crush on Virginia Tech. Rutgers was my number 2, so if you took Virginia Tech, I was fully prepared to take Rutgers, mostly because I love the running game and the schedule.
All right.
The schedule does not play the top 5 teams in the Big Ten, so there's a good chance they go 9-3. Now, Rutgers and Virginia Tech actually play each other on September 21st. That game's going to be in Blacksburg.
Interesting.
I think that is going to be a litmus test for both of them, and whoever wins is going to feel really good about their chances of performing to their schedule. And Virginia Tech has a little bit of scheduling breaks, too. They have to play Clemson, but they play them at home. And playing it at Lane's a little different at night. The Inner Sandman has had their fair share of victims. That's going to be tough. They will have to go at Miami, which I think could be a more likely they're going to lose that one because I'm very high on Miami. Miami is number 19 in the preseason poll, but they get to play Virginia at the end of the year at home. Virginia's not very good. Duke's not very good. They get them on the road. Syracuse, I don't think it's going to be very good at all. They get them on the road. They have Georgia Tech at home. I think they're heads and shoulders above Georgia Tech. And Boston College, I'm also not incredibly high on. They have them at home, and they got to go at Stanford at one point this year. And the non-con's not threatening, with the hardest game probably being at Vanderbilt or Marshall. They play Old Dominion on the road, which has been a little bit of an issue for them before historically. But this Old Dominion team I am not impressed on at all. I have got a really good chance that Virginia Tech at least gets to the ACC title game. Okay. And with the talent and continuity they have, I would not be surprised at all if they beat one of Florida State or Clemson to win the ACC.
Wow. All right. That's good. I cannot go as in-depth as you just did on why I think it'll be Wisconsin, other than Wisconsin's pretty good at football.
Luke Fickell's a pretty good football
he's
coach.
A good coach.
You can't argue that one. He's pretty good.
They've been down a little bit relative to expectation, and it's time for them to do better in a hard league.
They still have a really good running game.
Yeah.
And if Phil Longo gets his idea of what he wants this offense to be, he has a quarterback who's on a redemption tour with Tyler Van Dyke, who transferred from Miami. This is a redemption tour for him. If he can do that, Wisconsin can pull that off.
All right, now we'll see who doesn't finish in the top 10. We'll do that on the other side of the break. Lots more to do here. It's the postgame show at Columbia Craft.